Have you ever climbed into bed early, slept what looked like a full 8 hours, opened your eyes in the morning, and somehow felt even more exhausted than when you went to sleep? If that's been happening to you, there's a good chance the problem isn't how long you're sleeping. It's what your body is doing or failing to do while you're asleep. And for many older adults, the real reason has nothing to do with laziness, weak willpower, or simply getting older. In fact, some of the most common causes can quietly develop over the years without causing obvious warning signs during the day. That's why so many people wake up tired, assume it's normal, and never realize there's an underlying issue that can often be improved once it's recognized. Before we go any further, if you enjoy practical, evidence-based health information that helps you stay active and independent, consider subscribing. Every week we break down complicated health topics into simple, useful advice you can actually discuss with your healthcare provider. Now here's something that surprises many people. Sleep isn't like charging a phone. You can't judge its quality simply by the number of hours you spend in bed. Think about baking a cake. You can leave it in the oven for exactly the right amount of time. But if the temperature keeps changing every few minutes, the cake still won't bake properly. Sleep works in a surprisingly similar way. Your brain and body have to move through several different stages during the night. Some stages help repair muscles. Others strengthen your immune system. Some are especially important for storing memories, clearing waste products from the brain, balancing hormones, and preparing you for the next day. If those stages are interrupted over and over, even if you never fully wake up, you may spend 8 hours in bed without getting the kind of rest your body actually needs. That's one reason two people can sleep the exact same number of hours. Yet one wakes up refreshed while the other struggles to get through breakfast. The encouraging news is that waking up exhausted isn't always something you simply have to accept. In many cases, your body is sending clues. The challenge is learning how to recognize them. Over the next few minutes, we'll walk through the most common reasons this happens, why they're more common as we age, and what you can do to work with your healthcare provider to improve your sleep, not just extend it. Some of these causes are surprisingly simple. Others are medical conditions that often go undiagnosed for years because people mistake them for normal aging. And one of them affects millions of people who believe they're sleeping soundly every night, while their brain is actually being interrupted dozens or even hundreds of times before morning. But before we get there, let's start with something that changes inside nearly every aging body, even in otherwise healthy adults. Your internal clock slowly changes. Have you noticed yourself getting sleepy earlier than you used to? Maybe you wake up before sunrise, or find yourself wide awake at 4 or 5 in the morning, even when you'd rather sleep another couple of hours. That isn't just a habit. Part of it comes from changes in your body's internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm. This biological clock helps coordinate when you feel alert, when your body releases hormones, when your temperature changes, and when it's time to sleep. As we get older, that clock often shifts earlier. At the same time, the brain may produce less melatonin, the hormone that helps signal nighttime. The result isn't necessarily less sleep. Instead, sleep often becomes lighter and more fragmented. You may drift awake briefly several times during the night without remembering it the next morning. Each interruption may only last a few seconds or minutes, but together they can reduce the amount of deep, restorative sleep your body receives. Imagine trying to read a book while someone taps you on the shoulder every few pages. You could eventually finish the book, but you'd probably feel mentally drained. Sleep interruptions work in much the same way. Your body keeps trying to return to deeper stages of sleep. Yet repeated disruptions make the night far less restorative than it appears. This also explains why many people say, "I was in bed all night, so why am I so tired?" Because your body measures much more than time. It measures quality. And there are several everyday habits that quietly chip away at that quality without most people realizing it. One of the biggest is something many of us do within the first few minutes after waking. And another is something we often do just before bedtime, believing it's actually helping us sleep. We'll look at both next. One of the biggest reasons people wake up exhausted has nothing to do with what happens while they're asleep. It often begins hours before your head ever touches the pillow. Many people assume that if something helps them fall asleep, it must also improve the quality of their sleep. But those are two completely different things. Think of it this way. Falling asleep is like boarding an airplane. Sleeping well is the entire flight. A smooth takeoff doesn't guarantee a smooth journey. And several common evening habits can quietly interfere with the deep, restorative sleep your body depends on. Habit 1. Alcohol before bed. For many people, a small glass of wine or a nightcap has become part of the bedtime routine. It feels relaxing. It makes your eyelids heavy. And it often helps you fall asleep faster. So naturally, it seems like it's helping. But here's where many people are surprised. Alcohol acts more like a sedative than natural sleep. It can shorten the time it takes to fall asleep, but later in the night, it often disrupts the normal sleep cycle. Deep sleep becomes less consistent. REM sleep, the stage closely linked with learning, memory, and emotional processing, can become shorter. Instead of moving smoothly through the night's natural rhythm, your brain may keep getting pulled into lighter stages of sleep. You may not fully wake up. You may never remember anything unusual happening. But your brain does. And by morning, you can feel as though you hardly rested at all. This effect tends to be more noticeable as we get older because the body processes alcohol differently than it did decades ago. That doesn't necessarily mean everyone should completely avoid alcohol. But if waking up exhausted has become a regular problem, it's worth paying attention to whether there's a connection between your evening drink and how you feel the next morning. Sometimes, simply having alcohol earlier in the evening or reducing the amount can make a noticeable difference. If you're unsure, it's something worth discussing with your healthcare provider. Habit 2. Bright screens before bed. Now let's talk about something that's become part of almost everyone's evening. Television, smartphones, tablets, even bright LED lighting throughout the house. These devices don't just keep your mind busy. They can also confuse your body's internal clock. Earlier, we talked about melatonin, the hormone that helps signal that it's time to sleep. Exposure to bright light in the evening, especially blue-rich light from electronic screens, can delay that signal. Your brain receives the message that it's still daytime. As a result, you may not feel sleepy until later. Even if you fall asleep eventually, your sleep schedule may shift, making it harder to wake up feeling refreshed. And there's another reason screens can be a problem. It's not just the light. It's the stimulation. Watching an exciting television show, reading emotional news, scrolling through social media, even playing games on a tablet. All of these activities keep your brain mentally engaged at a time when it should gradually be slowing down. Think about trying to stop a speeding bicycle. If you gently apply the brakes, it slows down smoothly. If you keep pedaling until the very last second, it takes much longer to come to a stop. Your brain works much the same way. Giving yourself 30 to 60 minutes of quieter activities before bed, like reading a printed book, Listening to calming music, gentle stretching, or simple relaxation exercises may help your body transition into sleep more naturally. It doesn't have to be perfect every night. Even small changes can add up over time. Habit 3. Eating too close to bedtime. Here's another habit that often surprises people. Late night eating. Many people become hungrier in the evening. Some enjoy a large dinner. Others snack while watching television. Neither is automatically harmful. But timing can matter. When you eat a heavy meal shortly before lying down, your digestive system has to stay active while your body is trying to prepare for sleep. That can increase the chance of acid reflux, heartburn, or simple digestive discomfort. Even if those symptoms are mild enough that you don't fully wake up, they can still interrupt your sleep cycle. Foods that are especially high in fat, heavily spiced, or very large portions may increase this effect for some people. Caffeine can also linger much longer than many realize. Some adults process caffeine relatively quickly. Others may still have significant amounts circulating in their body 6 to 8 hours after drinking it. That's why an afternoon cup of coffee affects one person very little, while another struggles to fall asleep that same night. Paying attention to your own body's response is often more helpful than following someone else's routine. But what if you do everything right? Maybe you're thinking, I don't drink before bed. I stay away from my phone. I don't eat late. So why am I still waking up exhausted? That's an important question. Because sometimes the problem isn't your habits at all. Sometimes it's a medical condition quietly disrupting your sleep night after night, without you even realizing it's happening. One of the most common examples affects millions of adults, especially as they get older. Many people have it for years before it's ever diagnosed. Some don't even know they're waking up repeatedly throughout the night, because each awakening lasts only a few seconds. Yet those tiny interruptions can happen dozens, or even hundreds, of times before morning, and they may leave someone feeling completely drained despite spending 8 or 9 hours in bed. That's where we'll go next. Up to this point, we've talked about habits that can quietly reduce the quality of your sleep. But sometimes, even when your bedtime routine is healthy, you still wake up feeling like you barely slept. That's because the real problem may not be falling asleep. It may be what keeps happening after you've already drifted off. Sleep apnea, the condition many people don't know they have. One of the most common causes of persistent morning fatigue is a condition called obstructive sleep apnea. It happens when the muscles in the back of the throat relax too much during sleep. The airway becomes partially, or sometimes completely, blocked for a short period. When that happens, your oxygen levels can briefly fall. Your brain notices the change and quickly wakes you just enough to reopen the airway. Most of these awakenings last only a few seconds. They're so brief that many people never remember them. They simply roll over and fall asleep again. But imagine someone tapping you on the shoulder every few minutes throughout the night. Even if each interruption lasts only a moment, you would never get the uninterrupted rest your body needs. That's essentially what sleep apnea does. Some people experience these breathing interruptions dozens of times each night. Others may have them far more often. The result is sleep that looks normal on the clock, but doesn't feel restorative by morning. Many people first learn about sleep apnea because a spouse notices loud snoring, long pauses in breathing, or sudden gasping during the night. But not everyone with sleep apnea snores loudly. That's one reason the condition often goes undiagnosed. Besides waking up tired, other possible signs include morning headaches, dry mouth upon waking, difficulty concentrating during the day, or feeling unusually sleepy while reading, watching television, or riding in a car. None of these symptoms automatically mean you have sleep apnea. Many other conditions can cause similar problems. But if several of them sound familiar, it's worth mentioning them to your healthcare provider. A sleep evaluation can determine whether sleep apnea or another sleep disorder is contributing to your fatigue. The good news is that sleep apnea is treatable. Treatment depends on the individual and may include lifestyle changes, sleeping position adjustments, oral appliances, or devices such as CPAP therapy that help keep the airway open during sleep. For many people, treating sleep apnea doesn't just improve energy. It can also improve concentration, mood, and overall quality of life. Restless leg syndrome, when your legs won't let you rest. Now let's look at another condition that's easy to overlook because it doesn't always sound serious. It's called restless leg syndrome, or RLS. People often describe it as an uncomfortable sensation deep inside the legs. Some say it feels like tingling. Others describe crawling, pulling, itching, or an irresistible urge to move. The unusual part is when it happens. Symptoms usually become stronger during periods of rest. You finally sit down after a busy day, or lie down hoping to fall asleep. And suddenly, your legs don't want to stay still. Moving them often brings temporary relief. But once you stop moving, the sensation gradually returns. This repeated cycle can make it difficult to fall asleep and even harder to stay asleep. Researchers are still working to fully understand why restless leg syndrome develops. For some people, it may be related to changes in brain chemicals involved in movement. For others, iron deficiency, kidney disease, or certain medications may play a role. That's why it's important not to self-diagnose. If these symptoms are happening regularly, your healthcare provider can help identify possible causes and discuss appropriate treatment options. Sometimes addressing an underlying issue is enough to reduce symptoms. Medications that may affect sleep. Here's something else many people never consider. The medication helping one health condition could also be influencing sleep. That doesn't mean the medication is wrong. It simply means every medicine has potential benefits and possible side effects. Some medications can make it harder to stay asleep. Others may increase nighttime urination. Certain medicines can cause vivid dreams. Others may leave people feeling groggy the following morning. Even some over-the-counter products marketed as sleep aids aren't always the best long-term solution. Many contain antihistamines that can cause next-day drowsiness, especially in older adults. That's why it's never a good idea to stop or change medication on your own. If you've noticed that your sleep changed after starting a new prescription or even a new supplement, bring it up during your next medical appointment. Sometimes a simple adjustment in timing or switching to a different medication under medical supervision can make a meaningful difference. Your healthcare provider can help weigh the benefits against any unwanted effects. The hidden role of pain. There's another cause of poor sleep that often hides in plain sight. Chronic pain, arthritis, back pain, shoulder discomfort, hip pain, neuropathy. Even mild aches can repeatedly interrupt sleep without fully waking you. Each time you shift positions because something hurts, your brain briefly becomes more alert. You may fall asleep again almost immediately. But over the course of an entire night, those small interruptions can add up. It's a cycle that becomes frustrating. Poor sleep can make pain feel worse the next day. And increased pain makes the following night's sleep even more difficult. Breaking that cycle often requires treating both problems together, rather than focusing on just one. That's another reason it's important to talk openly with your healthcare provider about sleep, not just pain. Many people assume they're unrelated when, in reality, they're affecting each other every single night. And there's one final reason people often wake up exhausted that has nothing to do with the bedroom itself. It starts the moment they open their eyes and continues throughout the entire day. Understanding that daily pattern may be the missing piece that finally explains why a full night's sleep still doesn't leave them feeling refreshed. We'll finish with that next, along with a few simple habits that can help support better sleep over time. We've covered changes in your body's internal clock, evening habits that quietly reduce sleep quality, medical conditions that can interrupt your rest, and medications and pain that may be keeping you from getting the deep sleep you need. Now let's talk about what happens after you wake up. Because surprisingly, the first hour of your day can influence how well you sleep that night. Not because it magically fixes everything, but because it helps reinforce the natural rhythm your body depends on. Start your morning with light. One of the strongest signals your internal clock receives is sunlight. When natural light reaches your eyes in the morning, it tells your brain, the day has begun. That message helps regulate hormones that control alertness during the day and sleepiness later that evening. Many people spend the first several hours of the morning indoors under relatively dim lighting. If possible, stepping outside for 10 to 30 minutes shortly after waking, even on a cloudy day, may help strengthen your body's natural sleep-wake rhythm. You don't have to exercise intensely. A gentle walk, sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee, watering the garden, all of these can provide both natural light and gentle movement. If getting outside isn't practical, sitting near a bright window can still be helpful, although outdoor daylight is generally much brighter. The goal isn't perfection. It's consistency. Keep moving during the day. Another habit that often gets overlooked is physical activity. You don't need to train for a marathon to improve your sleep. In fact, simple, regular movement is often enough. Walking, swimming, gardening, gentle cycling, chair exercises, light strength training. All of these can support healthier sleep while also benefiting your heart, muscles, balance, and overall well-being. Research has consistently found that people who stay physically active often report better sleep quality than those who spend most of the day sitting. That doesn't mean exercise is a cure for sleep problems, but it's one piece of a much larger picture. If you're starting a new exercise routine or have health conditions that affect mobility, it's always a good idea to discuss the safest approach with your healthcare provider. Be mindful of long daytime naps. Have you ever taken a long afternoon nap, only to find yourself wide awake at bedtime? Short naps can be refreshing, but naps that last too long or happen too late in the day can reduce your body's natural drive for sleep later that evening. Everyone is different. Some people feel great after a 20-minute nap. Others discover that even an hour of daytime sleep makes it much harder to fall asleep at night. If you're waking up tired every morning, experimenting with shorter naps earlier in the day may be worth trying. Small adjustments often produce bigger results than people expect. Don't ignore ongoing fatigue. Perhaps the most important message in this video is this: persistent fatigue is not something you should simply accept because of your age. Yes, sleep changes as we grow older. Lighter sleep, earlier wake-up times, more frequent nighttime awakenings. Those changes are common, but constantly feeling exhausted despite Getting what seems like enough sleep deserves attention. Sometimes the cause is surprisingly simple. Sometimes it takes a medical evaluation to uncover what's happening. The important thing is not to assume that feeling drained every morning is just your new normal. Your body often gives subtle clues long before a problem becomes obvious. Listening to those clues and talking with your healthcare provider when something doesn't feel right is one of the best ways to protect your long-term health. Bringing it all together. So, if you regularly wake up tired after what should have been a full night's sleep, remember these key points. 8 hours in bed doesn't always mean 8 hours of restorative sleep. Your body's internal clock naturally changes over time. Evening habits like alcohol, excessive screen time, heavy late meals, or too much caffeine can quietly reduce sleep quality. Conditions such as sleep apnea or restless legs syndrome may interrupt your sleep without you realizing it. Certain medications and chronic pain can also play an important role. And healthy daytime habits, including morning sunlight, regular physical activity, and a consistent sleep schedule, can help support better sleep over time. None of these strategies offers a guaranteed solution. Sleep is influenced by many factors, and every person's situation is different. But understanding these possibilities gives you something much more valuable than another quick fix. It gives you a place to start. Instead of asking, "Why am I always tired?" you can begin asking, "Which of these factors might be affecting me?" And that's a question worth exploring with your healthcare provider. Final thoughts. Sleep isn't just about feeling rested tomorrow. It's one of the foundations that supports memory, mood, physical strength, immune function, and overall quality of life. Even small improvements in sleep quality can make everyday activities feel easier, whether that's enjoying time with family, taking a morning walk, or simply having the energy to do the things you love. If today's video helped you better understand why you may be waking up tired, we'd love to hear from you. Which of the causes we discussed surprised you the most? Or have you found something that has genuinely improved your sleep? Share your experience in the comments. It may help someone else who's dealing with the same challenge. If you found this information helpful, please consider subscribing for more evidence-based videos on healthy aging, brain health, nutrition, and everyday habits that support a healthier life. And if you know someone who always says, "I slept all night but I'm still exhausted," consider sharing this video with them. It might provide the answers they've been searching for. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself, sleep well, and we'll see you in the next video.